everyone. The following video was a bit of an emotional one. It's regarding the brutal murder of Amber Czech or Zek. I'm not quite sure how the family pronounces it, so I apologize if I mispronounce the name. I was a little overwhelmed and I left out a couple of things that I wanted to mention, so I'm just going to put them here briefly. First of all, Amber was born July 11th, 2005, and she was brutally murdered on the morning of November 11th, 2025, by a coworker while she was at work. And I'll go into that story during the video. I also wanted to mention that there is a GoFundMe for Amber's family, and I'd like to help them reach their goal of 140,000. They still have a way to go. So I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes and also in the comments below. If you are experiencing harassment at home, in the workplace, or in school, please speak up. And if you witness harassment, please also remember to speak for victims, because sometimes they're too scared to talk. Thanks. Hi, guys. Welcome to the TOWTalk Podcast. I'm here with Neil. I want to just take a moment to remember Amber Czech. I think it's pronounced Czech. And Amber was a young woman. She was only 20 years of age who graduated from trade school as a welder. And she went to work as a welder at her job in Minnesota. She only started in July, and she was experiencing harassment from a coworker named David Bruce DeLong, who was twice her age, 40 years old. And I don't know what the interactions were between them. All I know is that on Tuesday, November 11th, she went to work at 6 a.m. like she always did for the few months that she was there. And DeLong picked up a sledgehammer and slammed her in the head and bludgeoned her to death. So he hit her several times with a sledgehammer and murdered this young woman who had her entire life ahead of her. And I want to talk about this because it really, first of all, I would feel that in any other time, this horrendous type of murder would have made national attention and would have hit the mainstream news, because it was just it's just so despicable and so horrible what happened to this young woman. It breaks my heart. First of all, I have learned from the stories that I've read that she reported the harassment at least 5 times, that is known. And why human resources didn't address this problem, didn't talk to this man, take him aside, or do anything about it, angers me. But more importantly, when the police asked this man, why did you do this? His answer was he didn't like her, and that he had been planning, fantasizing about killing her for weeks before he took action. This is horrendous. Now, that image that I showed you was from the AFL-CIO, and they had put out a statement. There have been a number of statements from various unions and organizations with a lot of tradeswomen who have spoken up, and they've spoken up about harassment in the workplace where they're working in blue-collar jobs that are mostly dominated by men. I'm not going to totally speculate the reason behind DeLong's murdering of this woman. There could be any number of reasons. Was he jealous of her talent? Did he make advances at her and she wasn't interested, and he was just like stalking her? I mean, I don't know. All I know is that it doesn't matter. She deserved safety. She asked for help 5 times, and they did nothing. That young woman, instead of on Thanksgiving, where she could have been with her family was mourning her death. And my heart breaks for them. And my heart breaks for any young woman that is working in any job. I myself have experienced sexual harassment in my time, particularly when I was younger on the job. But this should never happen, specifically when the victim has spoken up. And we hear about these stories all the time. We hear about this with women who are being stalked or harassed by an ex, and they alert police or they try to get, they try to get restraining orders, and there's a delay or they sort of shake it off. Oh, it's just domestic stuff. Sure, a lot of these domestic issues do work themselves out and hopefully in a peaceful manner, but many of them, but for the few that don't, they all need to be taken seriously. You know? Neil, what have you got to add to this?
All I can say is that it's common. Like it really is
It's too
more
common.
common. It's all too common, right? And it's not just listen, I don't want to be like the idea that this whole thing, women disproportionately receive sexual harassment or harassment of a certain kind in the workplace. Men do experience it too. Okay?
Right.
It happens on both sides, okay? And it's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable in every way. Everybody should be able to go into work in a safe, free environment where they can perform at their highest ability. Um, you know, and I'm gonna say there is a real difference between the idea, and I really want to clarify this because people, have come at me, saying I may not be the right person to talk about this because of what happened here in town against the previous supervisor who now is the supervisor elect. But I'm gonna say this: asking somebody to do their job is not harassment. Okay,
Right,
right?
right.
Let's be
Yeah, it's
clear
very,
about that.
very different context here.
Very different in what this woman experienced. Okay, and she had gone to HR. Again, I don't know the area. There should be really strict policies as to how the reporting of these things go, who gets notified, how the notification, and then how quickly it's addressed. Okay. Generally speaking, in every place I've ever worked, including in the government, with the exception of the town of Wachell, which was a completely different animal altogether, right? In the way they handled issues, because they handled them all wrong. The idea being that the immediate issue should take place within 2 weeks, right? So in other words, from the initial complaint to it working on the resolution should be within 2 weeks.
Yeah,
It
but
should not drag on beyond 2 weeks. If it drags on beyond 2 weeks, then it's become a hostile work environment all the way around because now all of a sudden you've gone and moved to perpetuate that issue.
yeah. I think I don't know what obviously, we don't know what the content of her complaints were. Was he making threats to her? I would think if somebody is making a physical threat towards a coworker, that's something that should be addressed immediately. I don't think we can wait 2 weeks.
No,
But
I don't
this
know what
shouldn't have
kind of
gone
harassment.
on.
Right. I don't know what kind of harassment it was.
Right.
And again, that's not really being reported. There's a lot that we don't know. We just know she had an issue, right? The issue was clearly not addressed and it led to a woman's death. My feeling is there should be more of a mechanism as to again how these things can be reported, who they could be reported to, how they get escalated, right? In other words, if you go to your immediate supervisor and you file a complaint with your immediate supervisor and then they don't take action, right,
Yeah.
or they fail to notify their supervisor, which should be the appropriate way to go, right, then we have a problem, right? Because then you have a breakdown in communication, in which case this could then continue.
Right.
um the if the second report should have escalated it even further up, or there should have been a way for that individual, right, her to go to her boss's boss, right,
Yeah.
or her boss's boss's boss, right? Like there should have been a mechanism to make sure that and if not, then there should be an outside authority that you could go to discuss it with, right? Like here in Orange County, we have organizations like Fearless that deal with domestic violence and abuse, independent living. We have a bunch of different resources that you can call and say, hey, this is what's happening to me. Can I get help? A lot of businesses and a lot of employees don't know there's an EAP system, employee assistance program. A lot of the unions encourage getting the employee assistance program. That is another number you can call and say, hey, I have a problem. Can you help me?
Wow.
And they can do it. I strongly recommend EAP programs. I think they're fantastic. I used it myself after 9/11. I was down by the World Trade Center at 9/11. I had experienced really bad anxiety. I still have really bad anxiety. I still have, flashbacks and
Oh,
post-traumatic stress. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome after the 9/11 attacks. So I utilized my EAP program to help me.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. They
Um,
did that at my job too. Uh, I
right.
wasn't
So
downtown, I was midtown, but you were downtown?
I was downtown.
Oh,
So
shit. I didn't know
EAP
that. Huh.
programs, EAP programs are important to have in the workplace. So, and it could be a way for her to say, "Hey, I'm having this problem." And then somebody on the other side could say, "Have you addressed it with this person? Have you done this?" And they can kind of give you steps and help you through the process of maybe getting that help or getting to the right attention, the right person's attention,
And
right?
ending in a positive result and not with a tragedy like this.
Right.
This is horrible. Um, it really, when I read it and I the more I read it and I saw it, first of all, there have been many, many, many videos from people with an outpouring of support who are all, making sure we remember her. The but the biggest thing, and I mentioned this earlier, is that this really wasn't carried by the mainstream media. This is something that should have received national attention because it affects all young women who wanna be tradespeople,
All women,
all women
all
in
women.
general. Yeah. The real threat, and this person literally casually discarded her. There was another article that I read where he spoke to a coworker about it. He said, "Oh, I used your sledgehammer to hit Amber, and she's gone now. So I put it back, like it was no big deal to him, like it was just another day, like taking out the trash from his perspective." And this is how we treat women in 2025. When or
Actually, yeah, they're trying to roll back rights and all that kind of stuff. So, and we're seeing women's programs getting cut left and right. That
healthcare,
help
getting women's
women,
healthcare being
help
cut.
women's health care. All of this is part of the same thread. And what we're
And I
seeing is these threads being pulled.
And then when you see if let's say, you know, David Bruce DeLong, subscribed to that kind of content and that kind of thinking, could that could that help to, trigger his anger, see her as replacing a man's role as a welder? Like, that shouldn't be an issue. There's so
Again, we don't know what was going through his mind. We don't know why he did it. We don't even know if he was angry, right? Like, I mean, he could have just been sick. We again, we can't attribute things. I would be more interested to know is how many more complaints did this individual receive in the workplace, right? Like, we haven't really heard about that. Was this the only person complaining? Were there other complaints lodged against this guy? How long has this guy worked there? Right.
3 years.
All,
3 years.
right. All that could play a role. Like, when somebody's worked somewhere, maybe they're no longer on probation. It's harder to get rid of them. People may be filing complaints, in which case then you address the complaint and move on. And if people don't complain anymore, then that person gets away with it continuously because, management may think, I addressed the issue with the guy. The guy then, threatens the person again, right? The girl again. She now fears going to complain because now it's like this vicious circle. You've now created a vicious circle. Again, we need better management needs to do a better job of these things, right?
Yes.
And in terms of oversight, making sure they're providing a safe workplace. It really goes back to that. And that's why I would be interested to see like how many more complaints this guy had received in the workplace and various other things of what's going on. Were there any, did the guy have any other restraining orders against him? Like what was the
Good
deal with this
question.
guy?
Does he have a
You know?
history of violent behavior? Did he have any run-ins with the
Right.
police? So you know what, we're gonna keep an eye on this story as it develops, and we will, we'll report more as we hear because we want to remember Amber Czech and just keep her family in your thoughts. And folks, if you're dealing with harassment or if you're a witness to harassment, whether it's in the workplace or elsewhere, speak up. Speak up because, the only way that we fix this situation, that we resolve it is by addressing it. And if you sit quietly and you don't say anything about it, some people, in fact, I'll add this. Some people have said in some of the comments that I saw, why didn't any coworkers? Were there other coworkers there? Why didn't they speak up? Have there ever been other witnesses to the harassment she was receiving? I mean, maybe nobody else was there on the day that she was murdered. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. It's, not unusual that it might have been a quiet workplace, but she reported 5 times. So there was obviously something going on there. How come, if there were any other witnesses, how come they didn't speak up? Why didn't they speak up for Amber? You got to do that. If you're witnessing this, support that victim. Speak up. Call attention to it. Let's stop this violence. This young woman should not have lost her life. That's all I want to say. She should be here for the holidays. So please think of Amber. I'm going to just show her picture again as we sign off here because this is breaking my heart. There she is, a beautiful young girl. She was 20 years old. Please remember her. And as we learn more information, we will report that to you. If you have any comments or if you have any thoughts, please share them below. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Share this video and share your thoughts about Amber. Thanks so much, guys. We love you, and we'll see you soon.